Hello, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome back to TMR's Master Advisor series. Today is September 28th, 2023. This is episode number 78 for us. We are going to be talking luxury travel today, particularly how advisors can make the change and start specializing in luxury or getting introduction to the segment moving forward. We're really happy to have Vanessa McGovern here to talk to us about that. And we have a sponsor to get to, but I just want to go through a couple of reminders for everybody. The first, I want to say thank you to everyone who came out a couple of weeks ago for our session with Carrie Dyer. I said it last Thursday, but it was really one of the most impactful episodes we've had. I really enjoyed it a whole lot. Carrie walked us through so many tools that you can use to be a little more efficient in your business, and we did our best to put together some of the highlights that I promised during that session. We're going to drop a link to that article in the chat now. I know so many people were asking me about that during the last couple of weeks, so I just want to make sure everyone knows that I followed through on that promise and we have the article available. And then we're also going to drop the link to our YouTube page in the chat now in a second as well. If you're interested in watching it again or watching it for the first time, you can do it there on the TMR YouTube page. And while you're there, if you're interested, please go ahead and subscribe to that page. All those interactions, they really do help us a whole lot and help us keep supporting this program going forward. So we really appreciate the help for all those who have subscribed, and there's a whole lot of content on there. So if you do have the time, if you want to learn a thing or two about so many different topics, you can find everything there. A second and my final reminder is that we will be back here in 2 weeks with a different kind of episode. It's been a while since we've had someone not affiliated with the travel agency as our guest on this program, and we thought it was time to change something up. So we'll be back here on October 12th with an episode on how to best use a BDM and how to develop BDM relationships. And we're featuring a BDM as our guest and who's going to give us some insight to this other side of the relationship that travel advisors experience. And we're really excited about that. We'd love to see you there. We'll get the link out to register as soon as it's ready over the next couple of days. So please keep an eye out for that. And yeah, it's something we haven't done before and something we're really excited for. All right. So with that out of the way, without further ado, I do want to introduce our sponsor for today's episode. We're really happy to have Amy Price here to talk to us for a few minutes before we get into our topic today.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks, Travel Market Report. We are equally excited to be here to be a part of this conversation and so appreciative of everything that Travel Market Report does for the travel advisor community and all the wonderful tools that you're providing all the advisors who are engaged with you on how to grow their business, especially related to the luxury space. And I love that Vanessa is going to be the key speaker today because we at Explore Journeys have had great success with Vanessa and her network and growing their luxury business. So I know she's got some amazing tips to share with all of you today. But real quickly, I just wanted to remind you that we are actually sailing. We finally have a ship in the water. And I know we've been talking to all of you for a long time about a dream and a possibility and a passion. Well, now it's actually in operation. We are getting amazing reviews from all of the guests, your clients that have been on board and sailed with us, and also from all of the lovely travel advisors that we've had the ability to host on board as our guests. I want to remind all of you that you too do have an opportunity to sail with us. All you need to do is make one booking before the end of this year, and you can become a pioneer and earn that pioneer status. What the pioneer status does for you is it affords you the ability to sail with us on any insider first look journey that we have available through April 12th of 2024. Additionally, it offers you the ability to extend some special value savings to your clients that you are hopefully going to subsequently book with us. So again, all you have to do is make one booking before December 31st, and you can sail with us on Explorer One and understand how differentiated our product is in the luxury space. I like to call our product more of a relaxed luxury experience. And it definitely is a product that is speaking to those new to cruisers and those clients who maybe are used to traveling in luxury hotels and luxury land opportunities. This really is an opportunity for you to put us in the consideration set of their next vacation experience as an opportunity to have their first ocean luxury experience with Explorer Journeys. So again, don't forget pioneer status. Make sure to connect with us on explorejourneys.com/travel advisors and engage in our Travel Advisor Center to learn a lot more. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Vanessa. Have a great conversation, and thanks everyone. I'll see you at the end.
Thanks, Amy. And I know we've had so many members of your team on this program, and it was cool to see the build up to it, and having you here to talk with us about it was really great. I do want to get to our guest today. I'm really excited and happy to introduce Vanessa McGovern. She's the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Gifted Travel Network. She's a fierce advocate for the whole industry. She's a well-known business coach, and we're really excited and feel very fortunate to have her today. So welcome, Vanessa, and thank you so much for giving us your time this week.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. What an exciting opportunity. It's so great to see familiar names and faces in Zoom boxes. Just a big shout out to some GTN members that I see on here. So thanks for joining and supporting TMR. They're a great partner. I also want to give a shout out to Amy and Explorer Journeys. They're a great partner to Travel Advisors, and their Chief Sales Officer, as many of you know and love, Chris Austin, has actually played a very instrumental role in my own personal professional development journey in transitioning to luxury. So I think it was very fitting that Explorer Journeys was the sponsor of today's conversation.
Yeah, a little serendipity is always nice to start off with this. Yeah, and so I want to get into the topic right away because I know we have so much to get to. I do want to remind everyone, if you have a question for Vanessa, if you have a comment, you can drop it in the chat, and I'll do my best to grab them as we go along today. But yeah, Vanessa, we've had a lot of guests throughout this year on MasterAdvisor to talk to us a little bit about luxury. We've had one in the beginning talk to us about this changing definition of luxury travel, and that seems to be something that comes up constantly. I'm just curious if you could set the stage a little bit for this conversation and tell us a little bit about how you define luxury and what sort of features of the segment really play into that definition for you.
Yeah, so great question, loaded question, and it's a bit of a moving target and obviously difficult to sort of define and deduce it to sort of one sentence. If you could really summarize how to define luxury, I think a good word to summarize it would be personalized. And because luxury is truly personal, and you can slice that in so many different ways. I mean, to start, I can't, a lot of times people will say, well, what's the typical price point and transaction size? And there's definitely information out there, especially from our boots on the ground and partners with cruise lines and in destination partners that can tell you what the average spend is right now, what typical transaction sizes are. But at the end of the day, luxury is personal. And for some, $10,000 is luxury. For others, $100,000 is luxury. And so first you have to decide, it's not about what you think luxury is. It's about who you want to be of service to, because luxury can scale so many different price points and can mean so many different things. And so if you really want to have a sustainable and scalable travel business, you really have to start by deciding who is it that you're serving, and then meet that luxury client where they are and what the price point is for that luxury client. And really, it comes down to knowing who you want to serve and knowing your client.
I'm just curious, because that is interesting. That is sort of looking at it from the other angle. Is it's not what you're selling, it's who you're selling to, which is really I think a smart way to do it. What would you say if we had an advisor on this call who maybe was very new to the industry and wanted to pursue luxury, or someone who wasn't pursuing luxury who now wants to do so? What would you say, like what kind of client would make sense for them to pursue?
Well, first of all, there are endless opportunities right now in luxury. The luxury segment is exploding in every single direction. There are, well-established luxury focused brands like hotel brands and cruise lines. I mean, look at how many cruise lines have ships. Look at how many new hotels are opening. And all you have to do is look at hotel partners to know that they're filling their hotels, and in urban and in beach destinations, just globally, and for experiential destinations. So regardless of whether the partner is using a travel advisor or not, the partners are filling their experiences. And so that is a huge opportunity for travel advisors, because the consumer, the traveling public, they are craving expert advice. They are craving somebody to help them, sift and sort through the plethora of options, and they are looking for somebody to advocate for them. And so it's very exciting for anybody on this session that may not be what you believe is, you're not in the luxury space yet, you want to get in the luxury space, or if you're completely new to the industry, know that you are literally limited by your own beliefs around what's possible in this industry, because it's reigning luxury right now, and experiences are selling out. I mean, we have 2 partners right now that we work with in Gifted Travel Network in Italy, and our GTN members on the call know this, that have stop sells. Like, they are not taking new business for 2023, and some of which they're over at capacity for 2024 for the 5-star segment. So this is the reality in the new landscape of travel. So there's no shortage of opportunities, is what I would say to those looking to transition to luxury. And there's no shortage of access to resources on how to shift into that. What is the biggest block that I see for new advisors, as well as experienced advisors looking to transition to luxury, isn't anything to do with client attraction or whether or not the client is out there. It has to do with your mindset around if you can serve this segment. And it really comes down to sort of, that age-old image that you see out there when it affiliated with mindset, with the iceberg, what's at the top of the iceberg, but it's really, what's underneath the iceberg. It's what's in your mindset that is potentially blocking your ability to really line up with the luxury segment, because there is opportunity everywhere in every segment right now.
Yeah, it is interesting. That was going to be my question, because you said reigning luxury, you spoke about this incredible opportunity in the luxury industry, and obviously the advisors who sell a lot of luxury are fairly profitable simply because of the nature of the price points and things like that. But mindset, I guess, is the biggest hurdle you think is in the way for advisors sort of getting in and seizing this opportunity.
I believe it is, yes. And when I look at our top producing advisors at Gifted Travel Network, the challenge isn't about the client attraction. That's not the challenge. The challenge right now is sustaining and scaling their business and hiring help and hiring people that they can, pass a booking off to, because they're also servicing other bookings. And that's the biggest challenge that we're facing right now in the luxury segment for luxury travel advisors. So it's not due to a shortage of opportunity, and does it exist, and is the market slowing down, and is there enough business for everybody? I mean, the Virtuoso statistics show the incredible amount of traffic that they are getting on their website alone from consumers looking for Virtuoso travel advisors, and the Virtuoso Leads program is off the charts right now as well, and our advisors are on the receiving end of that. We had one advisor just book a 6-figure booking with remote lands from a Virtuoso lead, and came to the GTN advisor cold. So it's all around. So you just have to believe it, which I know is easier said than done. And you have to believe it, before you see it. And that's, the mindset block that we see keeping travel advisors not in this segment stuck.
All right. And I talk about those mindset blocks and how advisors can deal with them and get over them. But I just want to have a quick question first, because you mentioned softness in the market. I just want to sort of get your feel, because of your position in the industry, Vanessa. I mean, how are you seeing any softness in the market, whether it's in the luxury segment or a different segment right now? Because I know that's something that a lot of the industry watchdogs are constantly trying to get a hold of and trying to get a sense of.
So obviously my lens is only what I know from Gifted Travel Network advisors and our sales reports. And I just had every Wednesday we have a new booking report meeting. So well, actually, that would have been, I keep thinking today is Wednesday. Today is Thursday. we were out of office yesterday for a team building day. So I feel like I missed a day of the week. So we actually had our new booking report meeting this week. And as usual, or today, and as usual, we were at a record-breaking week again. So we are not seeing a slowdown at all. And I see the average transaction size continue to pace at the same as it has been all year, and if not, increase. So from our lens at Gifted Travel Network, we're not seeing a slowdown in the luxury space. Where I do see softness is more in the premium market, 3-star, 4-star, fun and sun, perhaps all-inclusive space. There's a little bit of softness, and that might be the segment where the household income, they're just perhaps waiting and seeing and before they go ahead and decide on that festive vacation or something that they want to commit to in 2024. But for the luxury segment and the ultra lux segment, we're currently experiencing what I believe is another wave season this right now, especially for last minute festive bookings. And interestingly, through summer 2024, a lot of our members are busy booking summer 2024 right now.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's so super helpful, because I know everyone points to some of the statistics, particularly excess household savings, things like that, and that some headlines this week suggested they were slowing down, particularly in the population that you mentioned, maybe that people who usually are in that premium or upper premium segment. So it's nice to hear a perspective on that. Yeah, but let's get in.
Like travelers are prioritizing their vacations, and still, you know, coming out of the pandemic, coming out of the virus that shall not be named. You know, people want to take vacations. They would rather, even clients that are not considered, you know, affluent clients, they're not driving vehicles or purchasing luxury goods that would be deemed in a luxury category, are still taking affluent luxury price point vacations, because they would rather do that than spend on another, which they don't need, home renovation or a second car or something else. So we're seeing that spend in a variety of segments as well, not just in the luxury ultra lux clientele, but also in just the average American that really just prioritizes travel.
Yeah, it's this shift from goods to experiences when you prioritize your spending. And I know that, like I mentioned, the savings rates might seem like they're softening, but I think that sentiment is continuously positive for the travel industry.
It is very positive.
All right, so I know we want to talk about these mindset blocks, because I think this is going to be the most impactful part of this hour or so. When we spoke earlier in the week, Vanessa, you mentioned there's 3 in particular that you think would be incredibly helpful for people to be aware of, and I was hoping we could go through those one at a time and talk a little bit about them and talk about strategies to sort of process them and deal with them in your own head.
Yes, great question, and I'd love to sort of tackle them. There's 3 that we see pop up, or as we like to say at Get to Travel Network, sort of mindset weeds that we like to help our members pluck, or we like to help them reframe when we see them come up, and they appear in a variety of forms. And so I will talk through each of them. I also have a document that you can visit our website. We'll drop a link later and easily opt in for that, and then we'll send you the documents that you can read that information over, sort of percolate on it post this presentation. So the first one is perfection paralysis. That is I see for those of you that have your videos on, I see some heads shaking. Perfection paralysis, which is defined as your need to want all your ducks to be in an absolute perfect row before you proceed with going into the luxury segment. So I will go to pitch the $50,000 trip to whatever amazing destination cruise experience when I take their certification program, when I go on that experience myself, when my website is completely revamped and done. I know there are certain things which I'm going to say that you absolutely should have your website revamped and done, and we'll talk about that also. But that's just an example of the types of things we hear travel advisors say that keep you stuck. You know, as a travel advisor, if you own your own business, you are an entrepreneur. You know, an entrepreneur demands that you take that step on the staircase, sometimes before the whole entire staircase is revealed. Entrepreneurship requires you to take leaps of faith in your entrepreneurial journey. And you can't hold yourself back by thinking that every single thing has to be perfectly aligned. Your systems have to be in place. Your email sequences have to be done. You have to have sent out so many email marketing pieces before you go and attract that client. Like, yes, all of those things matter. They matter deeply. But where you get stuck, and where we see people getting stuck, is when you take all of those things and you start using them as excuses or they paralyze you, right? It's perfection paralysis. They with overwhelm because, oh, it's just too much. Like, I'm not going to be able to move forward in this segment because I still need to redo my website, and I need to, up level my networking, or I need to clean up my CRM, or I need to code my clients for my consortium marketing. Like, these are things that you definitely need to be doing. But if you keep yourself paralyzed in needing it all to be perfect before you actually do it, that's thinking like what we say as an employee versus an entrepreneur. And you're an entrepreneur, and then you got to embrace the unknown sometimes, and you just have to lean in. So those are examples of perfection paralysis.
All right.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, so I have a question, because in my career, talking with people and working within a team, I've sort of seen it both ways. I've seen people like the perfectionists on one end, and the people who are like all about volume, all about speed on the other end. I'm just curious, I mean, how do you balance those two urges about wanting to get things done, but also wanting to get things done as best you can? I mean, I know it's a difficult question to answer, but I'm just curious if you had any advice.
I mean, it's a scale, because everybody measures that differently. So it is a difficult question to answer, because we all have different versions of what is acceptable in terms of output than others. So I think it's just really important to do an analysis on what is sort of enough versus things that you could do as a later thing, as a nice to have. So I think if that's the case, I would just do an exercise to take stock on what are those things, and then do a prioritization of maybe what's level 1, like super important, you definitely need to do that, or maybe that's a level 2 or 3 that you can do that in like another phase of this, whatever project or whatever task you're in. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. And I think what you said, particularly, don't let it become an excuse, because I think when that happens, it is like you're sort of lying to yourself, or you're trying to trick yourself. So yeah,
perfection paralysis also shows up in the form of, and this is a big shift for selling luxury travel, it shows up in the form of, I have to be the destination expert. Like, I have to cruise Explora before I sell Explora. Like, that's also a form of perfection paralysis. And while there's nothing that ever can replace the age-old know before you go, right? And you got to go so that your clients go, and you do have to educate yourself, and you got to get out there in the world. That's part of your role as a travel advisor. Also, part of your role as a travel advisor is to partner with exceptional experts in destination that will bring things to life for you. So if you want to up level your Italy business, but you haven't been selling luxury Italy, and you haven't been to Italy in a long time, or you haven't stayed at 5-star properties in Italy, just because you haven't done it yourself, or you haven't gone to the hotels yourself, because that's what I see in terms of perfection, doesn't mean that you can't partner with the in destination Italy destination management company. That's their job, to be able to do that, because you could go and do a whole tour of whatever destination that, keeping with Italy, like you could do a whole tour of Amalfi Coast or whatever, hotspot that you want to sell. And then in 4 months, a new hotel opens, a new restaurant opens, there's a new experience, there's a new this, there's a new that. Your job as a luxury travel advisor is to be the expert in your client. That's the difference. If you shift your focus on knowing everything there is to know about your client, everything, but like every single detail about your client's history, your clients, where they went to school, their genealogy, even like maybe they have a grandfather that fought in World War II, and then you can send them on this wonderful trip. You got to know everything. That's where you can get lost in the perfection. But if you think that perfection paralysis shows up in the form of wanting to be that destination expert, but you're the travel advisor, you're the expert in the client, of course you're going to build your destination expertise. Of course that's going to happen organically. You're going to grow it over time. You're going to have your Rolodex of people that you're going to go to, but your role is the client, and then facilitating that experience.
All right. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I know. And the word paralysis is so strong, so I don't think that's sort of an unforgettable word. Hopefully everyone will remember that. I certainly will. Yeah, so let's move on to the second one. I
Number
did
two.
for everyone who did want that document from Vanessa, the link is in the chat now if you do want to sign up. But yeah, Vanessa, please.
Okay, so number two is the pesky imposter syndrome. This one creeps up when you least expect it. And sometimes you feel like you've gotten a handle on it and you got your mojo and you're confident, you're feeling good about going into a conversation with a client or with a partner. And then sometimes it just creeps up on you. And most of the time, what I see is it's not easy. Imposter syndrome is not easy to self-diagnose. Imposter syndrome, it's easier to diagnose imposter syndrome when you are with a group of people that know you really well. So if you've got your own community of travel advisors and other business owners that you network with, and having a level of trust with fellow entrepreneurs and that become maybe not close friends that can call you out on it when you're having a moment, I think is probably the best way to tackle imposter syndrome. So I think the antidote to imposter syndrome is surrounding yourself with a community of people who get you and know you, that know your vision, that know what you're building for, that you're working towards, so that when you are talking about a strategy or an opportunity or, hey, this happened, what do you think about this? And then you start giving all the reasons why you're not going to do it. Your buddy who knows you really well can help call you out on whether you're keeping yourself stuck or that's really a form of imposter syndrome. So the best way to deal with imposter syndrome is really to make sure that you have that strong group of people that you can call on to help you call out on that. And, imposter syndrome also, it shows up in so many different ways. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you feel, how you feel about imposter syndrome, or how imposter syndrome maybe shows up for you. And feel free to drop a comment, and perhaps Dan, you can share some of the takeaways here. But, one of the things I hear is, I get it, Vanessa, luxury clients belong to country clubs. Well, I don't belong to a country club. So that means I shouldn't be selling to people there because I don't have a country club membership. So what business do I have, doing that? You can still get in front of that clientele without belonging to a country club. I mean, that is one way. If you're not walking around, town with a Louis Vuitton bag or whatever the brand is, it's okay. You don't have to have all of those things, that a luxury traveler may or may not consume in terms of luxury goods. And sometimes people stop themselves. Well, I don't drive this car, or I don't have this handbag, or I don't subscribe to this sort of perception of what luxury is. And so therefore I am not enough. I am not good enough to be able to sell to that client, or I don't spend, $50,000 on a vacation experience. And so I feel fake, I'm an imposter to try to recommend that to clients. These are just the ways in which it shows up. And that actually leads to the third mindset block, and they kind of all intertwined, which is, selling from your own pocket. That's the third mindset block, and that imposter syndrome bleeds into that. So being aware, like just having a self-awareness of like, ooh, something doesn't feel right. What's keeping me stuck? Why am I not taking action? Or as like we like to say, why am I not taking inspired action on this? What's holding me back? And then being able to self-diagnose, whether it's perfection paralysis, whether you feel like you're not good enough, or you don't have as many certifications as you think you should do, or you haven't taken that FAM that everybody did, or I didn't get invited to ILTM this year, and so therefore I have no business, selling those types of experiences. These are the ways that we see, imposter syndrome creep up, and then selling from your own pocket. So I've just covered all three actually, and I think maybe now is a good time to see what kinds of questions or comments, or even if you don't have a question, like what's hitting for you. I'd love to know.
Yeah, we have some good comments. Barbara, we're going to talk about finding clients in a second. But Andrea says when we were talking about imposter syndrome, she said this is where I was hung up. Danielle mentioned that it usually comes to her when she's at a destination she's unfamiliar with, and clients do expect you to know the world. And like you mentioned, that seems to go on the first one, Vanessa, right? Like perfection paralysis seems to fit in that situation too.
Well, you get what you expect. So if you expect your clients to expect you to know the world, then if you believe that, or you believe your clients believe that, then that's what's going to keep showing up for you. And you can change the narrative. Like, you can set the tone for the conversations that you are having with your clients, and you can talk about your in-destination partners. Like, Luxury Travel Advisor has boots on the ground access to experiences and opportunities that your client never could have even remotely even imagined existed. And that's your role as a travel advisor, is to have those relationships and to know where to go and to have that access. Luxury is personal, and luxury means access and opening doors and to experiences, because your luxury client doesn't want a transaction. They're not looking for an order taker. They're looking for highly curated, customized experiences. And you can't do that without the help of in-destination experts or your cruise partners, like any of your cruise partners that can help you decipher the differences in experiences and in the destinations that the cruise visits, so that you can pair it with the right clients. So I think I went off on a little bit of a tangent there. So reel me back in with another question.
So we have a couple questions about the third point, which was spending from your own pocket or selling from your own pocket. I'm curious, Amy, if you have how would an advisor recognize that they're doing this? And it might be something that's subconscious. Maybe they're not knowing that they're doing when they're talking to clients. How do they do them? And then how have you seen advisors, gifted advisors, any other advisors sort of get over that kind of roadblock?
So, good question. One of the ways you can ask yourself in terms of, are you doing that, is look at your marketing. So ask yourself, what are the trips and experiences that you are putting out there via your social channels, via your email marketing, maybe via even a personalized email, whatever that looks like. What are you recommending? So, and then do a gut check. So in some cases, you're not selling from your own pocket. You are genuinely putting out this amazing experience with Explora, for example, and it isn't and you're recommending like the best suite possible, and it isn't a price point that you are necessarily comfortable with for your own personal vacation, but that's not the point. The point is, no one's ever going to be offended by being offered the best, and you're putting out the best. And so you do that, and then that's a good gut check. If you're doing it because you're being of service, you want to let people know, and you're not selling from your own pocket, that's a good gut check. But if you're putting things out there, like check your social media right now. Are you just putting trip experience on your social or on your email newsletter that you would do, or that you know, or that you like, or where you visited, or that's a comfortable price point for you? I mean, ask yourself those honest questions. And if it is, it's okay. It's all good. Challenge yourself to just stretch yourself just a little bit more. Maybe there's a favorite property that you love, that you know the hotel director, you know the BDM, you know the bartender at the best bar, like you know that property really well, and you just love sending your clients there. What's the room category that you default to? You know, is there another room category? Is there a larger suite that you could be selling in the property that you already know and love? Like, that could be sort of a baby step towards expanding your mindset and going outside of your own pocketbook and your own comfort level of what you're willing, not what you're willing, what you're able to recommend to the clients before you go from what you know to maybe you get off this presentation and say, yes, transitioning to luxury travel means I'm going to go ahead and sell that 4 seasons around the world jet trip. If that feels like a stretch, which it's okay if it is, then this is a good way to take a baby step forward and just start with what you know and just expand beyond that. But you really have to do some self-analysis, Dan, on just your own gut. Like, is what you're putting out because you're comfortable, and that's a price point you're comfortable with? And if it is, then challenge yourself to do something else, to stretch yourself.
Yeah, and the advisors I speak to, Vanessa, particularly the ones who have been selling luxury for a long time, when they talk to me about quotes they've given to clients, and to me, because I'm not selling travel, it might seem like outrageous, but they don't bat an eye. It seems
No.
you will get more comfortable with these giant quotes, with these incredibly luxurious experiences, the more and more you sell them too.
Right. And maybe the client doesn't convert on the elevated experience immediately, but you got them thinking about it. And maybe you know a client that loves Ritz-Carlton, or loves a certain hotel brand, and you know what they're going to say yes to. But maybe in the proposal process is to say, you know what, actually I'm going to use Four Seasons as the example, because this is a good with the jet trip that I referred. You've stayed at Four Seasons several times. I know you stayed at this one, you stayed at this one, and now you sent this one. You know what, maybe we should start thinking about that jet trip. The Four Seasons brand. This is a great way to see the world. Maybe it's not a 2024 thing, but perhaps we talk about what that might look like for 2025. And are you ready to talk about that? And they'll be like, whoa, I had no idea that was even a thing. Chances are your clients don't even know. So it's your role to open their eyes to it.
Right. So we had see so many great comments coming in, and there's one question, and it's sort of two questions, and we can hopefully address them at the same time, about budgets, and then we'll talk a little bit about branding and communication. Then we'll hopefully talk about examples and marketing examples of advisors too. But I do want to grab this one, so I thought this was interesting when we were talking about price points and budgets earlier in the conversation. Let me just make sure I had it here. So how do you estimate, or how are you able to get your clients to give you a real budget so they can see if they're luxury or not? A couple of the advisors in the chat want some advice or clarification on just getting a sense of what these high net worth people really want to spend on travel, and if you had any advice, I guess, during the qualification process to do that.
Right. So great question. And it is all about qualification. And as I said before, you're the expert in your client. And in order to be that expert in your client, you have got to hone your ability to ask really good questions, to do a lot of, and at the beginning stages of I want to say a new client, but it could be an existing client that you're talking about a new trip experience to, asking a lot of open-ended questions so that your client does most of the talking and then you do all of the listening. And then at that stage, in terms of understanding budget and where they would actually spend, then in the early stage of the conversation, a tip and a recommendation that I have is to always mirror back what the client is saying initially. So, okay, what I heard you say was culinary experiences are really important, but you want something really authentic. You don't want to go to anything that's a chain. Okay, I hear you on that. You really want to stay in this type of location. Repeat everything back to the client so that they know that you heard them, especially because it's at this stage where assumptions start to be made, and that's where things go south quickly. So you want to repeat everything back that the client said, get an agreement, and then say, I'm going to go back to my partners and we're going to work on curating this experience. And I'm going to get back to you within, and then give them the estimate time of what your turnaround is. And then say here, and then at this point, you can give them a budget estimate if you feel comfortable, if you've been doing this and you kind of know, if you do, this is the best case scenario, is that you can give them a sort of estimate budget of what we're talking about. Like, this type of an experience is going to be between, $25,000 and $30,000, and then get the objection immediately. Some people might like, whoa, when we went to Italy pre-pandemic, yeah, well, guess what? It's not Italy pre-pandemic. And after, post-pandemic, things have gone up and the average rates have gone up. And this is where we're landing now for these types of experiences. So are you going to be comfortable with that price point? And you've got to be comfortable asking those questions and saying things like, I am going to go back and get you something within this price point. I'm also maybe going to stretch you a little bit based on what I can find for you. So tell me, if I come back to you with everything, in this price point, everything that you wanted, what kind of a turnaround can you give me in terms of committing? And now we're kind of going into a sales 101, type of session versus transitioning to luxury session. So hopefully this is helpful. And just to get really specific and with your client, to make sure that they understand, like, what you don't want to do is not give them a sense of what the budget is early on in the process, and then you go to work, or worse, make your DMC partner go through hoops when you didn't best qualify the client, and then you come back and the client's like, whoa, $30,000. It should not be out of left field at that point. Like, you should have some kind of idea. And if you're not sure, a good intermediary, and I see this happen all the time with the Gifted Travel Network private forum, is I see members coming to the forum before they go to the partner to say, you know, I just talked to my client, this is what they're thinking, what do you think, like, about properties and budget and whatever, so that the GTN member can be a little bit more educated, because maybe it's a destination they're not used to, or a cruise line they're not used to, so that they can get a better sense of how to manage the client's expectation before they even go to the partner, even before the client even sees the proposal.
All right. All right. So I think that definitely answered the question. And I see Hazel's comment about a webinar on sales, and I have that written down. So hopefully we can do something on sales towards the end of this year as well. All right. So perfection paralysis,
Yes.
pesky imposter syndrome, and selling from your own pocket.
Those are the three big ones.
There's two more things I want to tackle today. The first one is, I know branding and communication is going to be important when you're selling luxury, particularly for dealing with these clients who are going to have some sort of expectation, because if you're spending this on travel, I assume you're spending this in other parts of your life too, and there is a certain level of branding and communication, right, that luxury clients expect.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
how do we unpack this?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the first place to start is do a diagnosis on your brand. So if you are an advisor that has been selling for any period of time, when's the last time you took a look at your brand? And by brand, I don't just mean your website. I mean the visual representation of how you are showing up in the world as a professional. So when's the last time you did a website audit? When's the last time you refreshed your logo? Are your colors, the colors of your branding, are they aligned? Do you have a style guide so that everything is congruent with the way you're posting, and with email marketing and social media? You know, are you working with a professional, which we strongly recommend? And the answer is yes, you need to be working with a professional on elevating your entire brand. And even advisors within Gifted Travel Network that started out as luxury travel advisors, I see tweaking their brand. There's always a need to tweak and you know, meet your clients where they are. So you have to start by doing a brand audit, and you have to, you know, think about the luxury goods that your clients are consuming, or think about the experiences that you are looking to book. Like, if you know a DMC or a cruise line partner that you want to sell more of, you know, or get into that segment, go to their websites, go to their social media, and stack your brand up against theirs. And if there is a disconnect and yours doesn't look like theirs, it's not in the same family of brands, and if you don't feel like you have that lens to be able to be giving yourself that honest answer, crowdsource with other professionals in, you know, it doesn't have to be in travel, and any professionals and that know this space, and ask them if they think that your brand stacks up against another brand that you perhaps want to align with. So that's really important, is branding. And branding starts with good copy. That's at the heart of it. And a lot of time, if that's the one takeaway that you get from what I'm saying right now, is hire a good copywriter, then I feel that I would have imparted you with an important piece of wisdom in this journey to transition into luxury travel. Because a lot of times logos and websites fall flat with graphic designers because you didn't start with good copy. And if you don't start with good copy, then the graphic designers end up defaulting to globes and planes and random, like, travel, you know, cliche images on your logo. And it just generic. And you don't want to be generic, because you're a luxury travel advisor. You want to be personalized, you want to be custom, you want to be elevated, you want to be curated. And the graphics and the designers, they can't do their job if they don't have the language, like the words that you use to propel yourself into public consciousness. That's where it starts. That is the foundation. So you start with a good copywriter, and then when you've got good copy, that is exactly how you want to show up in the world, then you can take it to the people that can build your brand visually in terms of logos and website and headers and all of the things and social media, and put it on Canva and all the things, the way it's going to translate. So having a good brand matters. It also means, which I'm sure, I hope, fingers crossed, that this is not the case for your listeners, Dan, but also you have to have a professional email address. This is a big pain point, I think, in the industry for me personally, and I know a lot of BDMs will share this with me. And even with your BDMs, don't send your BDM. Like, I hear sometimes travel advisors are like, I don't want my inbox to get too clogged, so I set up this separate email that's, you know, vanessatravel@gmail.com. Don't do that. Your BDMs aren't going to take you as seriously if you don't have your @yourwebsite.com. You can set up folders in your website, in your email inboxes, that send emails to different places to, you know, handle the overwhelm. There are YouTube videos for that. Don't worry. But you need an @yourwebsite.com email, period, end of story. And so that's important. And then you need good business cards, and and you won't be able to get a good business card online and printed if you don't have a good brand with good copy to start with. And that's how everything can sort of seep through. And just to give you an analogy, and I know I'm kind of standing on my soapbox with all this right now, because I feel clearly very passionate about this topic. Is, you know, think about a networking meeting that you would go to, right? A lot of us go to, you know, professional networking meetings, and you know it's a professional networking, and you're there to meet other professionals that do business just like you. You're not going to show up in your pajamas. You're not going to just throw something on at the last minute and look really schleppy. You're going to brush your hair. You're going to put something nice on. You're going to be presentable and the best version of yourself. And you're going to show up for the meeting, and you're not going to stand in a corner and not talk to anybody. You're going to engage, you're going to make conversation, you're going to hand your business card out, you're going to do what you do at a networking meeting. Well, when you don't take the time to care about how you are visually showing up in the world with your website and your branding and just all of it, it's the same thing. Like you got to look the part, is the point, especially if you're belonging to consortias like Virtuoso that have lead generation programs where clients are then finding you on a consortia website like virtuoso.com, and then looking at you and a bunch of other advisors, and then going to your website and then filling out your form to decide if they want to speak to you, which is happening all the time. It could be the difference for a consumer with a website. So I know I've just said a lot.
No, I think that is, I mean, that is exactly what I asked. So so we have a question from Barbara in the chat, Vanessa, and I think I have a feeling of what your thoughts would be on this, but it seems like she's just getting into she's just starting out in the category, and she says it's a major investment to develop a website. Do you think it's essential to have a website, or can you just use a social media page?
It is 1000% essential. So great question. And congratulations on your decision to be in this segment. It's an amazing, exciting segment, as I've described. So welcome. And yes, it is. And it's like the equivalent of a brick and mortar business not having a presence, you know, not having their signage. You know, imagine you went to, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but like, imagine you went to the mall, a high-end retail establishment, not the mall, and Louis Vuitton did not have their sign. And it was just the bags in there, and it just kind of looked like it might have been Louis Vuitton, but there's like nothing to indicate that there's a store there. You know, you've got to round out your branding. So your website is the hub. Your website is the central piece of it. And Barbara just said something very important there, and she used the word investment. And it is. And that's a good word that you use. And I want to compliment you on using on your word choice, because a lot of times I will hear travel advisors say it's an expense, and there's a difference between an expense and an investment. If you are an advisor that is focused on FIT Europe, and you really want to grow your destination expertise in France, and you wanted this and you wanted that, and you're going, and that's an investment, right? But all of a sudden, because if you suffer from shiny object syndrome, the travel industry is like the worst industry in the world to work in, because there's shiny objects everywhere. And all of a sudden there's a FAM to Tahiti. Oh, look, over the water bungalows. It's not my expertise, but that's a really good price and I want to go. That, my friends, is an expense. because it's not part of your niche. Now, if you are planning on growing that, then we could argue that it's different and that it would be an investment. But your website is an investment, and that's just it. You are a business owner, and as a business owner, you have to feed your business and you have to put money into your business in order for it to grow. And so a website, the foundational marketing components of your business, which is a website, is something that is truly non-negotiable. Your social media complements your website. And here's another point, a different angle to all of this too, which is in the category of a social media digital marketing conversation versus how to transition into luxury travel. But I think this is really important at this moment, is with social media, you do not own the marketing asset. Facebook owns it. Instagram owns it. TikTok owns it. They could change the algorithm and your ability to communicate with your audience vanishes or significantly reduces. With a website, you put your opt-in for your email marketing on there, which you can then drive people to through social media, where you can capture their email and now you own the marketing asset. And then you can re-market that way, but they need to go somewhere in the first place, and that is your website.
And then Barbara, a couple of weeks ago we had Carrie Dyer, again, I think I mentioned in the beginning, but she took us through a couple of website building tools that are cost effective too, that a lot of professional people use, WordPress and a couple other ones too. So if you want to look there to get started, I think that's a good place to start thinking about it. So I know, Vanessa, we're running out of time, and I do want to ask this last question because we spoke about it earlier in the week, and I was just so interested in all these examples you had. But I mentioned to you that I had an advisor. His name was Belvin Baldwin on a couple months ago, and he was at this other conference, non-travel related, and he was setting up a booth in order to attract these high net worth individuals. I think it was maybe a dental conference, something like that, something where people who are attending obviously had high net worth. And it seems like that's a good way to start with marketing. But you mentioned you had so many examples from Gifted about people who were doing this or other things in order to sort of embed themselves with high net worth professionals. And I was hoping to wrap up, you could just share a few of those examples with us.
Sure. So there's so many client attraction examples, the practical side of sort of transitioning. And this is the famous, like, but just tell me how, Vanessa, how do I get in front of luxury clients, right? Yeah, all that other stuff is, yeah, mindset, blah, blah, blah. But how do I get in front of them? And remember, you need all these foundational things before you go and invest in these types of opportunities. You know, one example that always stands out to me that I always thought was just so creative is we have a travel advisor. For those of you on GTN, you know, Erica Carr, Book a Box Travel. You know, she came from the orthodontic sales industry. And so one of the things that she does every year is she exhibits at the orthodontics conference. And that's her former colleagues. She knows them. She's networking with them. So if you are in sort of an industry like that, I think former industry like that you can then go back and put yourself in front of. I think sometimes the clients are right under your nose more than you realize it. And sometimes I find travel advisors are feeling so burnt out by their previous careers that they disregard the networks that they have when coming into their travel business. But if you can just sort of remove that emotional baggage that you may have from your past career and really ask yourself if you've got clients there that you could be of service to, I think you would find some really great and creative ways to get in front of them, like the orthodontics conference. So think about professions that you can go to their conferences to exhibit, that there isn't a travel person there. You know, there's the Professional Association of Administrative Assistants. You know, there's you can go to conferences in various cities where there are, you know, the executive admins are having a lunch. You know, you can go and sponsor that. You know, you can partner with a wealth management company. They're always looking for ways, they're always looking for like lunch and learns and ways to add value to their team or ways for them to add value to their own clients. Sometimes they bring the clients in, and then you can partner with Explorer Journeys, for example, and you can do a presentation about what that looks like. So those are just some sort of quick hit ways. But, or, you know, think about in luxury goods space. I mean, I could sit here forever because the opportunities are just everywhere. You know, think about luxury goods that are consumed, you know, cars, partner with a dealer. You know, sometimes they do a client appreciation event. In fact, I knew a client once that did a custom Ferrari tour for clients in Italy. So, that's another way. Go to one of the ways I like to get inspiration for luxury for a client attraction is I love bookstores. I love Barnes & Noble. I love to just get lost in bookstores. And I always seem to gravitate towards the magazine section. And I love going to like niche magazines and then opening the pages of those magazines and seeing what companies are advertising in those high-end niche magazines, because those companies are also marketing to your ideal clients. And so maybe there's an opportunity to partner with those companies as well. And so those are just hopefully some ideas to get the inspiration flowing.
Yeah. So I know we haven't run out of time, but I see Amy Price back with us. First, Vanessa, I want to thank you so much. I know we're out of time, but I'm going to get a bell, and every time someone says something I haven't heard in this program before, I'm going to ring it. And I would have been ringing it all day today because it was really a lot of things that we have never spoken about on this program. So thank you so much for all your information, all your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Amy, thank you for joining us today too. I know you're in Seattle, so you're a little disconnected from us time-wise, but we really appreciate you as well.
Oh, anytime. And Vanessa, thank you. I loved how you wove in Explorer journeys in the conversation. And I learned a ton today. And I love the fact that you pointed out that you don't always have to experience product to sell it, to trust in us as your sales connection and your partnership. So thank you for everything that you do for the advisor community and for your Gifted Travel Network as well.
Thank you, Amy. And I just really want to give you a big shout out and congratulations on a phenomenal inaugural season and all that you are doing to support travel advisors. For travel advisors that don't know Explorer Journeys, you have to know them and know that Chris Austin has intentionally built the best team in the industry for a cruise, and you are in great hands with Explorer.
All right. Again, thanks everyone for attending today too. We really, really do appreciate it. We love this community, and hopefully we'll see again. You could watch this recording on our YouTube, Amy, if you want to, but we'll see you back here in 2 weeks, hopefully. But yeah, until then, hopefully everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you all very soon.